How's it going, guys? It's Parlay Pappy here. We got a matchup for Week 13 Thursday Night Football. It's a Thanksgiving special game, so we have the Chiefs versus Cowboys. Do see this matchup, the Chiefs being favorite. The line is kind of jumping, I would say, anywhere from that -3 to 3.5, as well as they are, favorite money line at -180, and that total is set at 52.5. If you look at this matchup, you do see the Cowboys coming off a big win versus their division rival in the Eagles. They were trailing in that game pretty sizably, and then they came back and overall got the win. In that matchup, I definitely see, obviously, key factors was overall Dak Prescott and his ability to get the ball out, make those big plays to George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. That overall is just kind of how their overall offense has been able to win big games and just showed it all last week on that primetime game. So we do see in this matchup, it's first overall passing versus the second overall passing inside the Chiefs. Cowboys are number one. So you do see, I would say, an offense-heavy game, as in both of these teams can score and will score. They're high-scoring teams. I do think, especially since the Cowboys teams is a weaker defense, I do think that there can be points put into this matchup. So the Chiefs are coming off their first win where it was a one-score possession. They did beat the Colts, which is one of the tougher teams in the AFC this year. So that is definitely a bigger win. They were at home, so that is a different type of Chiefs, because Chiefs do have their struggles on road. Their only road win was versus the Giants this season. Overall, other than that, they've lost all the road games. They lost the Jags, which probably was their most questionable one. But they just overall lost those most of those road matchups. So the Cowboys, they, like I said, have one of the most worst defenses in the league, especially their pass defense. Their pass defense is set at 30. I do think, especially since we see the Chiefs, like I said, have second overall for their passing, we're going to see a lot of struggles in that aspect. Chiefs and Mahomes is the type of team that is able to spread the ball very well. They don't have really one prime receiver. Obviously, we have Rice, Kelsey, Juju Smith, Thornton. They got all those guys, and we have one prime guy. I do think that's going to be a key thing in this matchup, seeing that they do have their big struggles in their pass defense. I do think they are getting a lot better in that rush defense. They are looking a lot better with the additions that they've added. But there's no questions asked that secondary is one of the worst in the league, if not the worst in the league. We do see the biggest difference in these teams where you look at these defenses. Like I said, we do see the Cowboys allowing 28 points per game, and they're 31st in the league. And then we see the Chiefs on the other end allow 18 points a game, which is 5th in the league. So it's the 10-point gap in points allowed. Like I've said already, that the Cowboys defense is really, really struggling. But I do think that this is one of the best Chiefs defense we've actually seen this year. Mahomes and the Chiefs has always had a really good offense, a really good defense, but they've never really had a good offense and a good defense. And I think that's what they are this year. They're both good overall. They're not really outshining on one side of the ball. They're both just overall good on the defense and good overall on the offense. Obviously, we do see their struggles in the records, but most of those losses are from that 1-point scores, games where it could have went any other way. So they do have -3 in their turnover to takeaway ratio, the Chiefs. And then we do see the Cowboys have -4 in that turnover takeover ratio. So it's not that much big of a difference. Both of those teams are having a bit of struggles of keeping that ball safe. I wouldn't say Prescott really with throwing, but I definitely would see with keeping the ball, with the Cowboys team keeping the ball from being fumbled. And then we do see actually Mahomes struggling of throwing that ball. He's actually had 7 interceptions this season, in which we've really never seen that from him. The good thing is we do see him shine on primetime games and these big games. We did see him earlier this season just throw his first interception in primetime games against the Jags. Other than that, he's pretty much has a clean slate. And then we did see him obviously do it against the Washington Commanders too, but he had a few interceptions in that, but that wasn't a primetime game. Thursday night, I think it was a Monday game. And then overall, we do see the Chiefs pretty much similar as the Cowboys when it comes to their receivers. But I would say that the biggest difference is the ability, like I said, the Chiefs to be able to spread the ball, and the Cowboys is more of like a 2 to 3 man shop. You got CeeDee, you got George Pickens, and then you got Ferguson. Other than that, no one else is really providing much of an offense for their pass game. Pickens does have over 1,000 yards receiving yards already, which is, I think he's the first one to get to 1,000, unless it's Jackson Smith and Jigba actually might be up there. So either way, 1,000 yards already, seeing that they still have, I think, 4 or 5 more games left. It's almost unheard of. We do see CD have 630, Ferguson have 460. And then obviously we see on the other end, like I said, the way they're able to spread the ball around the Chiefs, we see 5 receivers over 350 yards. So we do see a big difference in that aspect, even though we see the Cowboys with #1 pass offense and the Chiefs with #2. We see them kind of getting the ball out differently to the amount of receivers they're able to use. I think the biggest question is, can Chiefs slow down Pickens and Lamb? I do think if they're able to slow down George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb, then it's going to have to rely on the run game. And I do think Chiefs' run defense is really strong this year. Jameson Williams is good, don't get me wrong. I don't think he's going to be a back that can carry the game on his back and be able to do it overall. We've seen that the Cowboys win, and the recipe to win is throwing the ball. So like I said, if they can hold Pickens and Lamb, I do think that's going to be the biggest difference maker, as well as can Cowboys defense contain just a complex offense and just the ability to spread the ball, like I said, inside the Chiefs. So that's the biggest questions I do have for this matchup. Overall, in my assessment, I do lean towards Chiefs -3. I do think that the Chiefs will do enough to get the job done overall. Like I said, they've only have one game where they've won in 1 possession, which is last week against the Colts. But I do think we start seeing Chiefs actually finally pull away with these games, really kind of find their momentum and pull away at the end of the season to get ready for momentum for playoffs. This is a do or die situation where I think if any team loses this, they pretty much can kiss the playoff picture goodbye. And I do think that seeing that the Chiefs, just overall the history that they have, I do lean towards them getting the job done overall. So as well as I do lean to that over 52.5. Like I said earlier, I do see points being in this game, seeing that the Cowboys have a struggling defense, and overall just the rate that these teams can score at. I think overall it's going to be an over. So if you do like my thoughts, opinions on this matchup, please give me a like, subscribe, and definitely leave a comment on what you think this game's going to look like, and just overall the rest of the games for this week. So catch you guys later.